that we will have six 20-minute presentations, one after each other, in the next 2 hours. And then we will have a 30-minute for discussions and questions afterwards. So if you have a question to either of the presentations, which questions are very welcome, so please do. Then at the bottom of your screen, you have a button which is called Q&A. And so here you can type your question. And then by the end of these six presentations, we will see your questions. And then in each case, we will give you the option to become a participant, and then say your question loud, or like present it in words to the speakers, and then they will reply to you. Or if you don't want to basically say it out loud, then you can just leave it there, and then I will read it out, and then the speaker will respond to the question. So once again, you can type your question during the discussion, and then in the end, we will respond to the questions. And then one note to the presenters. Our time is very limited today, so our schedule is quite strict. So I would like to ask you, please be mindful of the 20 minutes of presentation time. At the end of the 20 minutes, I will say that it is time to wrap up. But if you can, then please don't wait for me to say anything. Just be mindful of the time and finish on time, and then we can all have time for the questions properly, and then close the day. So yeah, after these remarks, thank you again for being here. And without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker of the day, Dr. Moalliful Ilmi, to give his presentation. So Dr. Ilmi, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for the introduction and the remarks. I will directly to my presentation. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity given to me to deliver my presentation about the use of the multi-analytical methods in Indonesian archaeological study. My presentations will be about the growing role of the multi-analytical methods in Indonesian archaeology. My name is Muhammad Moalliful Ilmi, researcher from the Research Center for Archaeometry from National Research and Innovation Agency, or BRIN. Okay, without further ado, I will explain a little bit about the multi-analytical methods that I mentioned in the title of my presentations. The multi-analytical methods, or multi-analysis, is an approach that combines multiple analytical techniques. So we use different kind of techniques, analytical techniques, like microscopy, elemental analysis, and then molecular analysis, and then imaging analysis, and synchrotron technology to obtain a more comprehensive understanding about the archaeological artifacts. For short, multi-analysis is using several complementary methods to reveal the composition, the structure, the properties of the archaeological materials. And why multi-analysis? It is because the complementary data, we need several kind of data to explain our artifacts, like the elemental profile of the artifacts, the molecular profile, or the chemical composition of the artifacts, and then the structural information of our artifacts. Also, by using the multi-analysis, we could have reducing limitations of each analytical techniques, so we could compensate the analytical techniques weakness, and then we could deal with the complexity, improve the reliability of our analytical techniques, and also we could reveal the multi-scale insight, starting from the microstructure to the macrostructure of our samples. So by using multi-analytical techniques, we will provide more complete, accurate, and robust understanding of our archaeological materials. And how about the potency of the multi-analytical techniques in Indonesian archaeology? We know in Indonesia we have cagar budaya dalam bentuk in the form of benda or tangible cultural heritage, and which is movable and immovable. Especially the movable, there are painting, sculpture, inscriptions, lithic tools, pottery, and etc. And the immovable one, we have building, monument, archaeological site, rock art site, and etc. And by using the multi-analytical techniques, we could reveal several kind of the information like component and composition of the materials, manufacturing process, the taphonomy, alteration and degradation process, the preservation and conservation study, and also we could propose the proper preservation and conservation strategy based on our result of our study. And it is the state of the art of the growing applications of the multi-analytical techniques in rock art pigment studies in Indonesia, especially in my group and my colleagues. Starting in the 2018, the researcher start to use the X-ray fluorescence for analyzing the pigments from Leang Diriji Saleh in Sangkulirang, and the use of the multi-analytical techniques were growing until now in the 2025. More study has been conducted for rock art pigment studies using X-ray fluorescence, SEM, EDS, Raman spectroscopy, FTIR, and SAINS to reveal the pigment composition in the several rock art sites in Indonesia, especially rock art site in the Papua, Fak-Fak, and then Bangka Island, and then Pasma. This is the latest study conducted by our group in a several rock art site in Indonesia. And these are the rock art sites that we already analyzed, starting from the in the West Sumatra, in the Gua Basurek, and then in the Kalimantan area, in the several caves, and then in the South Sulawesi area, in the several caves, and also in the East Nusa Tenggara. And the latest one that already published is on the Berau Gulf, Fak-Fak, Papua. So we have already conducted several studies in the rock art pigment in several regions in Indonesia. And based on our studies, we also constructed this kind of the idea about the rock art pigment materials, the yellow composed of the goethite, and the red, dark red, and the purple one composed of the hematite, and also white composed of the gypsum, calcite, and kaolin, and the black pigment composed of the charcoal and manganese oxide and hematite also. So based on our study, we reconstructed this kind of model to be applied in the rock art materials, rock art pigment materials in Indonesia. And in addition to rock art pigments, we also conducted several research on other type of the pigments materials, especially in the pottery of prehistoric site of Minangasi-Pako from the Kalumpang, Sulawesi. We conducted analysis on the pigment materials used for the red slip of the pottery, and also pottery from the traditional pottery making from Solo Gabus, Tuban, and Pagar Jurang. We analyzed the pigment used for the decoration like this one. And also the group of our researcher from BRIN also conducted research in the fossil sediments from Sangiran. We do analysis using X-ray fluorescence and FTIR to analyze the collagen remains and also the elemental profile of the fossils. And in 2024, we start a project for analyzing the chemical composition and the profile of the pottery from the Labita-like pottery of Topogaro site. So we analyze the white pigment used for the lime field, and also the red pigment used for the for coloring the reddish part of the pottery. And also in 2025, we analyzed the pigment from the megalithic painting from Pasma, South Sumatra. And the reason one in 2026, we do analysis in the painted inscription on the temples in Central Java by using the multi-analytical techniques. So we combine several kind of the analytical techniques to reveal the materiality of the pigment materials of the several artifacts from Indonesia. These are the analytical techniques that we use. The first one is the microscopy. We apply the optical microscopy for observing the visual properties of the pigment materials, as well as the weathering materials of the pigment. And also we use the SEM for observing the microstructure. And by using the EDS, we do the elemental distribution of the samples, and also we use the Raman spectroscopy for characterizing the mineral composition of the samples, and also we use the FTIR to characterizing the functional groups, the chemical compound, the bond, the chemical bonds of the samples, and also by using X-ray analysis, especially micro XRF and portable XRF, for the characterizing the elemental composition of the samples. And also thanks to the synchrotron facility in the Thailand, and also our collaboration with our colleagues in France, we do some analysis on the ESRF beamline by using micro X-ray diffraction and also high resolution X-ray powder diffraction for analyzing the pigment materials. These are the results of our study from the Papuan rock art. We applied several kind of analysis. The first one is the synchrotron X-ray diffraction to analyze the mineral composition of the pigment materials, and we could reveal the composition of each color. For example, in the red color we have hematite, and in the brown color we also have the hematite. In the purple color we also have the hematite here, and also from the yellow one we could see the presence of the goethite. So we could differentiate of the different kind of the ferruginous materials of the different kind of color of the pigment materials from Papuan rock art. And also by using synchrotron X-ray absorption spectroscopy, we could also differentiate the presence of the hematite and the presence of the of goethite, especially in the reddish color of the pigment and also the yellowish color of the pigment. Also by using X-ray absorption spectroscopy, we could also reveal the composition of a different kind of the iron oxides here. You could see different kind of the iron oxide might present in the same color like this one. In the brown color, we could find the goethite, which is actually yellow iron oxide, and also the iron oxide or the hematite in the different proportion. So by using the X-ray absorption spectroscopy, we could also reveal the composition of each minerals on the pigment. And also by using multi-analytical techniques, we could reveal the formation of the gypsum-rich layer over the pigment that already make the pigment become deteriorated. You could see in the T3, the red is really vivid. So you could see red is really vivid. And the T1, the red color of the pigment turns into darker one. And the T4, it is already blackish. And in the T2, you could see the yellow is really vivid. And the T5, you could see the grayish color of the pigment. And we could differentiate the pigment from the T1 and T4. There is some formation of the gypsum layer over the pigment that make the pigment into become more blackish. So the blackish color of the pigment comes from the formation of the gypsum layer over the pigment. So it's because of the deterioration or the weathering process over the pigment because of the geochemical process of the gypsum formation on the layer. And then the second one, we could also analysis the formation of the blackish color of deposit over the reddish pigment, and we analysis using the Raman spectroscopy, and we could have the presence of the charcoal. So it is because the presence of the soot layer over the pigment. So the black layer comes from the soot layer that cover the pigment layer. It might come from the burning activities on the cave, and then the smoke or the soot deposited over the pigment, and it turns the color of the pigment into dark. And then we also apply the synchrotron X-ray diffraction to study about the heating process applied for the pigment preparations here, because we could see using the Scherer formula, we could measure or we could calculate the crystalline size of the pigment, and we could differentiate the application of the heating process because of the different kind of the color have different kind of the crystalline size, and the darker one, like the purple one, it has the higher crystalline size. So it might it is because the application of the heating process on the purple one, so it turns into become darker and becomes the purple one. And it is the result of the study on the pigment materials on the pottery from Mindangan Paco. By using synchrotron X-ray diffraction, we could observe the presence of the hematite peak here. So the red pigment might come from the hematite, and also it is confirmed by Raman spectroscopy that we conducted on the reddish part of the pigment, and we could see the peaks of the hematite here. And yeah, it is confirmed that the red pigment here comes from the hematite. So we could propose the illustration like this one. So the red painted on the surface composed of the hematite, and this one is the clay body, which is of course this clay materials. And then is the result of the multi-analytical study on the pigment used in the pottery decoration in Topogaro 7 site of the Lapita-like pottery. So we do some analysis on the white pigment here, and by using the X-ray fluorescence, we analysis on the white pigment, and we obtain the calcium peak here that confirm that the pigment is calcium-based pigment. And we further analysis using the FTIR, and we get the peak of the calcite peak related, especially the vibration of the carbonates. So it's confirmed that the white pigment comes from the use of the calcium carbonate pigment or plaster for making this kind of the decoration. Because this kind of decoration was named lime field decorations before, and we confirm that the lime field decoration is true because of the analysis of the pigment result, the presence of the calcite on the pigment. And further, we do some analysis on the reddish part of the pottery, and we obtain the peaks of the hematite here. So it's also confirmed that in addition to for the using of the calcite pigment for the white decoration, they also use some red slip for making the color of the pottery into become brownish like this one. So it is the illustrations. So we have the clay body here, and we have the red painted area, and then we have some hole that what's we call filled by lime plaster to make it become white decorated like this one. And also we do some analysis on the traditional pottery making on the candy from the two different from two different sides, from the Tuban and from the Klaten. And we do some analysis on the clay properties of different source of the candy, and you could see different properties of the clay materials they use, especially because they are comes from the different region. So the clay materials really depend on their region. And additionally, we do some analysis on the metallic color of the candy, especially from the Pagar Jurang, and we found that the metallic one comes from the deposited of the carbon. And it is unique that the carbon was used for decorating the pottery into become metallic one. And the carbon comes from the use of the dried leaf, and the dried leaf was smoked or was burned during the burning process of the pottery, and it result in the metallic color of the pottery. So the metallic color of the pottery doesn't come from the metal, but it comes from the deposit of the carbon from the burning of the Samania saman leaf during the burning process of the pottery. That's very unique. And also we do some analysis on the granitic rock art from Bangka Island. We take some pigment samples and we did some analysis by using several types of the multi-analytical techniques. For the first one, from this sample P1Ka, we do some analysis using the SEM imaging, and then we do some elemental analysis, so we could reveal different properties, different elemental properties of the layer. It is the substrate layer of the granite, so it is a silicon rich layer here, and also it is the pigment layer. So we could see The blue one is the phosphorus layer. So the pigment layer is rich with the phosphorus and also rich with the iron for sure. This one is the iron layer of the pigment, which is composed of the hematite. And in addition to iron, we could also the presence of the quartz here. So the iron also rich with the quartz minerals. And also, in addition to quartz, we could also see the presence of the aluminum here. So it is it might be rich with clay materials, rich with the quartz material, and also rich with the hematite and also the phosphorus layer. The phosphorus layer may be related to the iron or the ochre properties, or may also related to the weathering process of the pigment materials here, because of in the site you could see many of guano. So maybe it is the guano is deposited over the pigment here, and then the phosphorus deposited on the pigment layer. So we could see and we could have the phosphorus rich ochre layer here. And the presence of the phosphorus are confirmed in the several pigment samples, not only in these samples, but also in the other samples like P1U. You could see the presence of the very thick phosphorus layer, and also this one, the P2KAM. All of the pigment layer are covered by the phosphorus layer. So the phosphorus layer might related to the geological origin of the iron oxide used as the pigment, or comes from the weathering process. As I mentioned before, come from the guano that deposited on the pigment, and the phosphorus then deposited on the pigment layer. And we also analyze some pigment layer from the megalithic art, and it is very interesting. The pigment characteristics are really similar with the rock art samples, which is rock art is older than megalithic art. So you could see the presence of the charcoal here in the black pigment, and you could see the presence of the hematite in the red pigment, and also the goethite in the yellow pigment, and also the use of the sanidine. The sanidine may comes from the feldspar that used for the white pigment here, and also you could see the presence of the charcoal in the black layer. So the pigment properties are really similar with the properties in the rock art pigment. So it might also indicate the presence of the continuity of the use of the pigment. And we also do some analysis using the micro XRF here. And
sorry, if you can start wrapping up, that would be wonderful.
Yes, sorry.
And also, it's super interesting.
The use of the multi-analytical techniques and the pigment use in the inscription here. We do some analysis using Raman spectroscopy, and very interesting. We have also similar characteristic with the pigment use in the rock art, and the in the red color we have the hematite, in the black color we have charcoal. Okay. So we do some analysis in the manuscript illuminations by using the micro XRF and in the SEM sample. Okay, and the last slide will be here, and we do some analysis in the salt residue on the pottery, and we could reveal the presence of the residue here by the presence of the sodium and chloride elements on the surface of the pottery. Okay, the summary is that the multi-analytical techniques provide more comprehensive and reliable result in archaeological studies in Indonesia, particularly for material characterization and residue analysis. However, several challenges remain, including the limited availability of advanced facility and shortage of the trained expert, and also a need to promote this approach among the younger generation for archaeologists and integrate them more fully into mainstream research practice in Indonesia. Please thank you for all of the funding agencies for this research, and also for our colleagues and our international collaborators. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's a super interesting presentation. Thank you. And so everyone, if you have questions, you can write it in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, or you can also just keep it and in like an hour and a half, starting 12 a.m. Hungarian time, or like European time, you have the Q&A session, and then you can pose the questions. But feel free to write it also when it arises. So yeah, and then without further ado, let's turn to our second presentation of the day, which will be given by Dr. Peter Kovács from Damjanics János Museum. So, Dr. Kovács, the floor is yours.
One moment, please.
No, for sure. It's perfect technology.
For some unknown reason, yeah, I can't share my PPT. Let's try
Awesome.
again.
It was working before, it should work now as well. Just
Yeah.
switch.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you can see now the presentation, right?
Yes. Yes, it's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation and for the organizing this very interesting cross-cultural conference. In my presentation, I will talk about the archaeological use of metal detectors, not just as a practical tool, but also how to work together with the civilians. So, as an introduction, in the recent decades, and especially in the past few years, the use of metal detectors has been increasingly widespread in Europe and in Hungary as well. Archaeology, legislation, and civil society have all responded to this situation. In this presentation, however, I do not intend to reflect all the challenges and opportunities created by the spread of metal detecting, although this is an important issue, and my aim here is simply to present how the Damjanics János Múzeum in Szolnok uses metal detectors and what kind of results are we achieved through their application. The Damjanics János Museum is located in East Hungary. It is a country-level museum with regional responsibility in Jász-Nagykun-Szolnok County. Geographically, the region lies in the heart of the Carpathian Basin on the Great Hungarian Plain. It is predominantly a flat landscape characterized by the major rivers, the Tisza, and several smaller rivers. I think you can see my cursor. So basically, this is the area of the Damjanics János Museum. We began working with metal detecting in 2015. Since then, several hundred archaeological sites have been officially registered. This is particularly important as an archaeological sites in Hungary are protected by the law, and in the case of the development project, there is an opportunity to carry out the excavations. Number of particularly spectacular finds have been also discovered. For example, we have found approximately a dozen coin hoards of various sizes, as well as Bronze Age hoards and several cases of gold objects. Most importantly, however, an unprecedented quantity of metal finds has entered the collection. This means that the collection has grown by tens of thousands of new objects. We also use metal detectors during excavations. The aim is to recover even the smallest metal finds that would not be detectable using traditional excavation methods. Large-scale excavation, often covering several hectares, are common in our region, making this method especially important. First, we survey the topsoil, then, after each pass of the mechanical excavator, the exposed surface must be checked. We also examine the surface of archaeological features and the excavated soil itself. During the excavation, metal detecting is extended to parts of the site that are not directly affected by the excavation. So when we are not excavating, we also use metal detectors for systematic surveys carried out extensively on the surface, with professional archaeologists present at all times. In contrast, independent surveys may also take place without the presence of professional archaeologists. Civilians must follow strict protocols when collecting finds. The GPS coordinates of each find must be recorded. Finds must be placed in small bags, each with individual identification numbers. Excavation must not be initiated by civilians. It means hoards, graves, and deposits must not be disturbed, and the professional archaeologist must be contacted immediately. In these slides, show the excavations of a 16th century coin hoard. In total, approximately 150 coins were recovered. The hoard was most likely concealed during the Ottoman wars and probably represented the modest wealth of a household. The finds was discovered on an agricultural land using a metal detector. Following the surface survey, a test trench was designated based on the concentration of the finds. The hoard was then excavated layer by layer with continuous metal detecting through the process. Although the excavation was carried out by a highly experienced team, not a single coin was visible by naked eyes. And in the end, you just need to count the money. The Iron Age is a particularly distinctive period in the Carpathian Basin. I will focus on some interesting finds from the late phase, which were previously considered extremely rare. However, with the spread of metal detecting, the number of such finds has increased dramatically. This highlighted the fact that these objects are not recoverable through traditional archaeological excavation methods. From the 3rd century BC onward, the use of enamel decoration on various objects became relatively common among Celtic groups. However, this presentation focuses only enamel inlaid brooches discovered in Jász-Nagykunszolnok County. So far, a total of 20 specimens have been identified, on which only 2 were previously known from publications. All newly published objects entered the collection of the Dominicanos Museum and Jász Museum through metal detecting surveys. Although these items are all surface finds from settlement context, it is important to emphasize that precise GPS coordinates are available, confirming their exact location. And as you can see on the grayscale map, the red area is approximately the Jász-Nagykunszolnok's area, and the black dots showing the places where the enamel inlaid brooches were found. So I think it's quite clearly visible that in the heart of the Great Hungarian Plain, there were only a couple of enamel inlaid brooches known before. These slides show various so-called enamel brooches. These were worn by women both as decorative items and for fastening their clothing. They were made from simple wire onto which a decorative plate was attached. On this rectangular plate, small depression cells were created and then filled with enamel. The former classification of these decorative elements reveal clear geographical and chronological patterns. On this photo in this corner, you can see fully intact enamel inlaid brooches, and as you can see, these are quite simple objects, but still they indicate a lot of things, such as like chronological patterns and geographical patterns, and also we can do a lot of research on their network system. These examples shown here can be specially linked to the Skordiski tribe on the northern Balkans. Previously, such objects were known only from the core territory of this group, but today we have also been identified some of these on the Great Hungarian Plain. Here you can see the newly discovered enamel inlaid brooches, and this is the part of the Northern Balkan, and the two objects from the Great Hungarian Plain. Thanks to our research, we have been able to add that 20 new specimens to the previously estimated of the total approximately 40-50 examples. This is a significant increase, largely due to the metal detecting. And here you can see again the same map. Metal detector volunteers do not only find metal objects, as they continuously observe the surface and effectively carried out field surveys. They also collect items such as stone tools and glass objects. Previously, only 3 fragments of glass bracelets were known from our region. Today, the number exceeded 20. And here at the bottom of the slide, you can see the small parts of these Celtic glass bracelets, and here you can see an intact glass bracelet. And on this slide, you also can see some parts of these fragments of the glass bracelets. They are chronologically very sensitive items. They can be dated very easily, thanks for the previous researches. There are also some special type of glass bracelets, just like this one at the bottom. On the map, you can see their finding spot with the red dots. Also, very special types of beads. These were made in the Black Sea region, and they came as a part of a trading network. Here you also can see the black dots of this. This one is called as face beads, and these were made in the Black Sea region. It is particularly important to mention coins, the number of which has also increased significantly. The image shows the so-called Lapuite type Celtic coins. Previously, these were known only from the northern part of the Carpathian Basin and from Transdanubia. Now 6 examples are known from our region as well. At the red dots showing the previously known Lapuite type coins, and the blue dots shows the recently found coins from our area. And as you can see, using the metal detectors, the numbers has dramatically grown, and also the archaeological interpretation has to be tailored to this new situation and new patterns. So why all this important? The presented finds contributed significantly to drawing important archaeological conclusions, such as the idea that our region functioned as a kind of connection zone between the Northern Balkans and the northern part of the Carpathian Basin during the 3rd and 2nd century BC. The systematic use of metal detecting at the Dominici Museum has significantly transformed archaeological research in Jasny-Szolnok country. Since 2015, hundreds of new sites have been registered, and the museum collection has expanded by tens of thousands of metal finds. The method has proven essential both in large-scale excavation and in non-invasive surface surveys, allowing the recovery of small, otherwise undetectable objects. Metal detecting has not only increasing the quantity of finds, but also reshaped our understanding of certain periods, especially the late Iron Age. Objects once considered rare, such as enameled inlaid brooches or specific Celtic coin types, are now known in much greater numbers, revealing new geographical distributions and cultural connections. The involvement of trained volunteers under professional supervision also contributed to the discovery of non-metal finds, further enriching the archaeological record. Overall, metal detecting has become an indispensable tool providing new data, refining existing interpretations, and opening new perspective in archaeology, regional archaeological research. Thank you for your attention.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Super interesting again. And thank you for keeping the time. We're back in the original time. It's wonderful. Perfect. So yeah, so keep the flow. We will now turn to the second big category of our webinar today, which will be heritage conservation and management. And so I would like to ask our next speaker, Dr. Nahar Chakhyandru, to give his talk. So, Dr. Chakhyandru, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Oh, and-
Peter. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay,
And
so
one thing, just Peter Kovac, please stop your share sharing. I think it's still on, or at least I can see it, and then we can turn to the next. Oh yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
okay, so let me try to share my PowerPoint.
Sure, that's great.
Please wait a minute. I have some problem here because I use my new device, so I'm not familiar with.
Sure, yeah, no, take your time. It is perfect.
Or maybe in the committee, Lisa, someone can help me because I already sent the file to her.
So I don't know if that helps. There's the share button at the bottom of your screen. I don't know if you can see that, like within Zoom. If you click there, then that might work.
There's a problem, so I will try to share, Pak Nahar.
Sure.
So I will share this once. Can be? Oh,
Yeah, you can see it. It's
someone
great.
else already. Okay, okay.
Dr. Shakhendru, now it's perfect. I can see it, but we cannot hear you at the moment, but it's perfect.
Is it there?
Yes,
Yeah,
there is.
yeah.
We can see your PowerPoint.
Wait. But the problem is I cannot see mine.
Oh, okay. So maybe I can help to share it.
Okay, so I will stop now.
Okay.
Okay, please, Hari, help me.
Okay, I will try to share screen here. Wait a minute. Sorry, this one. Anyone can?
It's loading.
Yes.
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 It's appearing.
Okay. Please say after next, and I will doing next this one.
Okay. Yes. Very kind, Hari. So good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, maybe from Europe now. So I will present my presentation now about the development of conservation, especially conservation with regional knowledge-based development. So this is my slide, and I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nahar Cahyandaru. I'm from the Ministry of Culture. Now I work in West Papua, and that's why I put this picture of rock art in here. I will not talk about the rock art, but just to introduce you about one of the important heritage Indonesia. And I'm lucky because in the beginning, our colleague Mualimul Ilmi already talked about this rock art and analysis. So, and I like to thank you very much to the Archaeometric Research Center of BRIN and also the committee. And I would like to congratulate the committee for this successful event. Please hurry to next slide. Yeah, so if we talk about the conservation development in Indonesia, we have a vision of developing the traditional base. But when it will start, actually it will start from 2007, from this background of my work before. So before I work in Papua, I am the conservator of Borobudur Temple Compound in Central Java. I work for around 20 years. So I am following the development of conservation in Indonesia. And at the time, back to 2007, there's a decision from UNESCO about the Borobudur Temple. And we are very shocked at the time because UNESCO asked Indonesia to stop using the chemical, using many techniques. So then we feel confused. How can we stop every chemical for the conservation? Because UNESCO experts see some problem in there. Then from this background, then we start to think different point of view of conservation. So maybe to the next slide, please, Hari. Yeah, one more click maybe. So why and then we move to the traditional based conservation? Because first, because of the UNESCO monitoring report on Borobudur, but then we explore that there are some traditional practices for cultural heritage maintenance. So many heritage come from the past with their own technology of maintenance, like the traditional houses, traditional weapon. There's heritage come to us nowadays, but bringing together the traditional technology for maintaining. And also we have a law number 11 to 2010 about the heritage conservation. And then we have also another issue in the conservation material availability, because many of the conservation materials still imported from other countries. That sometimes is also a problem for us. And then we have also problem with the long-term impact on the conservation material. Like my picture before, there's a whitish line on the stone gaps because we use epoxy resin during the second restoration of Borobudur, 1970s. And then in the long term, the epoxy resin has a negative impact. And then in Indonesia, we have very rich with the biodiversity and also natural product. That why and then the traditional based conservation also pay attention on the natural product availability. And then we have also the global paradigm on the traditional conservation. Like here, I got the publication from ICROM, traditional conservation practices in Africa. So, so then why not we also develop the traditional conservation in Indonesia? Next, please. Yeah, this is my, let's say, statement at the time that heritage from the past often come with its technology for maintenance. So this is one example of the traditional house in Central Java from the Kudus city. This beautiful structure of wood still conserved by the community using the traditional technology. So this idea then bring us to develop the new approach of conservation. Maybe on the next slide we can see then how we next slide please. Then we study to this traditional community in Kudus. They use the tobacco and clove extract to maintain the good quality of the wood surface. And then we bring the material to the lab and we did the analysis, what kind of composition inside the materials. And then we also make a quantitative analysis on the impact of this chemicals to the fungi and termite and so on. So this is the beginning of our research on traditional based conservation development. Next, please. And then this is another example in Papua. There's a technology, a traditional technique to make a mummy using the smoke techniques. This is in Papua. But many people in Indonesia from many other regions, they use smoke as preservative, both internationally or internationally for various material. For example, the traditional houses are indirectly preserved through cooking activities inside the home. So like at the back of this picture, there's a Honai, the traditional house of Papua. So people cook inside the house and the smoke go up to the top of the house, and then the wood of the top of the house become preserved. And some region, the food is also preserved by smoking technique. I think it's not all, and just Indonesia, but many countries also do that. Then we think how to bring this smoke technique to the conservation technique. Of course, we cannot just smoke the heritage directly because we will difficult to control and the process. Then we develop a new material called a liquid smoke. Liquid smoke is liquid produced from the making charcoal material. Indonesia very we can easily find people who make a charcoal, especially from the coconut shell, because the charcoal from coconut shell from Indonesia also exported to many countries. It's an important material for industrial chemicals like catalyzed or absorbent and so on. And smoke is just a secondary product. Then people can condensate the smoke and then we got the liquid smoke. By using liquid smoke, we can develop a technique for conservation with a more controllable comparing with direct smoke in the traditional activities. Next, maybe Mas Hari. And then other material that we widely use in Indonesia is essential oil, because Indonesia very rich with essential oil products. We have more than 40 types of essential oil exported from Indonesia to many countries. It's a raw material for pharmaceutical, raw material for perfume, and so on. But there are many research about the essential oil showing that the essential oil has a bioactivity property. So that's why we use this essential oil to conservation, use it as a insecticide and also insect repellent. Because in the traditional knowledge, people put the essential oil in Java, we call akar wangi, inside the cabinet, so the insect cannot attack the our clothes inside the cabinet, because the essential oil from akar wangi become insect repellent, and then our clothes will be more preserved in our cabinet. This idea then we bring to the lab. We choose many essential oil and then we tested both the composition and also the activities to the insect. Next, please, Mas Hari. And then now essential oil widely used in conservation in Indonesia, because from our next research, essential oil not just insect repellent, but also it has a bioactivity on the fungi and also algae. So that's why we can apply for many other materials to control the growth of the algae. Here the example from Papua again, on the top right. This is the stone from Tutari, and we test the essential oil activity to control the growth of the algae. And also on the other picture here, we test for many material like stones, sandstone, and other material to control the growth of algae. Please next, Hari. Then if we talk about the metal heritage, here we have a traditional weapon we call kris, and until now there's still a traditional ceremony to clean the kris every first day of Muharram year, Islamic calendar, lunar calendar. People who own the kris, then they clean it, and then using the also the traditional materials. This idea also we can bring to the lab and develop this technique. Next, maybe because the time is running, sorry. So this is the scheme of how to mainstreaming the traditional based conservation. Start from the identification of the local knowledge, and then we select, and then we do the scientific testing, is it proven or unproven, and then we also do the method improvement, and then the standardization of the application, and try to replace the old method with a new method with the traditional knowledge base. Please to next, Mas Ari. This is the identification of the local knowledge from the directly exploration from the traditional practices, and we can also find from the old manuscript, folklore, and so on. Next, please. And then we select, because some of the idea is just a myth, it's not scientifically explainable, and sometimes they use unreasonable material, like people say that the building or the temple made by white egg for the adhesive. This is something that I think is very difficult to explain, and that's why we select with which idea can continue with the laboratory testing. Next, please. So this is the testing. We do two aspects: the efficacy, how the material truly effect on the target, and then we have we do also the bioactivity component analysis, as my colleagues Malimul Ilmi use many instruments to analyze the composition of the materials. We use like GCMS, FDR, yeah, the same, more or less the same instrument with what Malimul Ilmi already explained in the first presentation. Next. Then we do the improvement, not just the traditional material directly apply, but we improvement by optimization and then the extraction to make a more pure compound, and then also we do the chemical modification by make a better solution formula, and then the nanotechnology, like the essential oil, we also make a nano emulsion to increase the effect of the bioactivity of this essential oil. Next, please. And then this is the publication. I think you can find many publications from Indonesia about the essential oil, about the traditional material. In here, I give some example of the publication on how we use essential oil combined with the nanosilver for lichen inhibition, and then also we use other natural material like fatty acid, and then chitosan and so on to make a better conservation material. Then next, maybe Mas Hari. Then we make a training, discussion seminar, and so on to try to shift the paradigm that traditional knowledge can produce the good method that we can apply for our conservation, daily conservation of our heritage. Next, maybe this is the last slide, I think, Hari. So from my presentation, the conclusion is that conservation of cultural material based on traditional knowledge has great potential for widespread development due to its many advantages, and a scientific approach must be adopted for the analysis and further development of conservation method. So I truly agree with Mualimul Ilmi from the first presentation, because scientific approach using instrumental laboratory should apply on this development. And traditional knowledge in Indonesia, supported by the diversity of natural material. You know that Indonesia is one of the country with mega diversity of natural product. We can promote it as alternative conservation method worldwide. I think this is my presentation, and thank you very much. And again, thank you very much for Mas Hari Sofyan for your kind help. And I
Thank you,
give
Mas Nahar.
time to
Very good presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Yeah, it was very enlightening. So thank you so much. And then now I would like to ask our next speaker, Professor Alexandra Anders, to give her presentation. So Professor Anders, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm trying to share my presentation.
That's great.
Is it okay?
Yes, it's perfect. We see it.
Okay, maybe we can start. So first, I would like to thank you to the conference organizers, especially to Harry and Christina, for the invitation to take part in this webinar, which connects continents and different archaeological heritage experts. In my talk, I will talk after the introduction about 3 case studies, and in the end, some takeaway thoughts. As you remember from yesterday welcome speech of Professor Imre Hamar, Eötvös University was established in 1635 and one of Hungary's oldest higher education institution. The Institute of Archaeological Sciences at Alta was established in 1777, is the oldest institution teaching archaeology. Since then, the teaching of archaeology has maintained its regional leadership almost continuously over the past nearly 250 years. The field of archaeology is internationally recognized in university rankings as well. Just last week, it was announced that the archaeology program at Alta is ranked between the 100 and 150 by the Quacquarelli Simons World University ranking. There is a 2-semester-long obligatory heritage management course in the MA program, and from 2018 onwards, a new specialization focusing on archaeological heritage studies has been available for the MA students. Archaeological heritage studies focus on the material remains of human activity in the past and the relationship between past and present. We pose the following basic questions. How is archaeological heritage defined by international and local legislation? Who has the right to own and control the material remains of past societies? How should these remains be protected? How should we interpret archaeological heritage for a wider audience, and how can they experience it for themselves? The mentioned MA course consists of 4 semesters with different topics. The first is the introduction with basic knowledge, general concept of archaeological heritage. The second is about public archaeology and community archaeology. On the third semester, we are dealing with interpreting archaeological heritage. And last but not least, in the fourth, is dedicated to the UNESCO World Heritage, focusing on management plans for archaeological sites and properties. The lectures are accompanied by seminars where students can explore archaeological heritage sites in the immediate vicinity of the Institute in the heart of Budapest and investigate how they fit into the living fabric of the city, representing memoirs of the past, such as a Roman fortress or the medieval city wall. And let's go further with our first case study. We have organized joint courses with students of urban and landscape architecture from the Hungarian University of Agriculture and Life Sciences. We use the methodology of challenge-based learning. Archaeologists and architects work together on urban projects in real life, and during the course, we simulated this situation for the students. The city wall of Budapest was mostly built in the 15th century, surrounding the current city central, all the way to the Danube. The monument is visible and accessible only in a few places, and its role in the development of the city structure is not evident at all. For this reason, it's not on the mental map of the city's inhabitants, and it never became a touristic attraction. During the seminar, we intend to change this. Students first heard presentations from ELTE and the universities and agriculture lecturers on the background of the monument and its perceptions. Then we visited the accessible section of the wall together. This was followed by a joint student project day where students prepared their proposals in collaboration with teachers. In each group, there were students of archaeology, city planning, and landscape architectures. 4 planning locations were identified beforehand, and these were very different in character. These were the plain, the wall appears in the pavement level in a public space, wall, the remnants of the monument are visible as a wall in an inner courtyard, room, a site where one can to learn about the ruins of the wall and its history, exhibitions, and facade, sites where the remains of the wall are incorporated into a facade. So the project also included mandatory elements, and finally the projects were presented at a public event. One of these plans, the students proposed to highlight the entire length of the city wall with different types of pavement, andesite and basalt. Connections between the wall sections would be marked by signposts, QR codes, and illuminated paving so that they would be visible also at night. The first joint seminar was organized in 2021, but since then there has been regular contact between the two universities. Each year we have a whole afternoon together, and during the walk the students get acquainted with various heritage and urban planning challenges through short presentations. And let's go further with our second case study. CHAM-EU is the challenge-driven, accessible, research-based and mobile European University Alliance with the symbolic aim of creating a new European university, both on and offline. The alliance comprises the University of Barcelona as the main coordinator, and an Irish, a Dutch, a French, a German, a Norwegian, a Finnish, and a Hungarian university, which is ELTE. Living Past, founded in 2019 at Utrecht University in the Netherlands, reimages how students engage with history by combining digital media and community collaboration. Rooted in design-based learning, transdisciplinarity, education, community engagement, and co-creation, the course encourages students to develop digital prototypes using design research methods. These prototypes can take various forms, such as objects, games, podcasts, or apps, and are presented at the end of the course. By partnering with museums and NGOs and other external organizations, students bridge the gap between academic inquiry and real-world impact, creating prototypes that benefit local communities. In the autumn semester in 2023, Living Past expanded ELTE in Budapest through the CHARM EU Alliance, marking a significant milestone in international collaboration. Students from both Utrecht and ELTE work together on a shared theme, Beyond the Walls, lacking heritage topics and engaging in multiple interactive formats such as group discussions, feedback sessions, and cross-cultural exchanges. This experience offered many students their first opportunity to collaborate in such an integrated and digital learning environment. The main topic was again the medieval city wall. ELTE students produced 3 prototypes during the course: an escape room game with an app, a digital map with an online database of literary and journalistic texts, and a website with a printed booklet. These results were presented at a hybrid event, showcasing the fruits of their collaborative effort. And let's go further with the case study 3. This is the intra-universities sample. Many students from various disciplines express interest in heritage-related issues, yet they often lack a comprehensive understanding of the topic's multiple dimensions. To address this gap, we launched a project titled Heritage Aware, Awareness and Management of Natural and Cultural Heritage Challenges, a skill acquired during university studies, funded by Erasmus+. The project is coordinated by the National Museum of Natural History in Paris, in France, in partnership with universities from Hungary, Italy, Portugal, Spain, the Holimoka Studio, and as an associated university partner from Indonesia as well, UKSV Salatiga. We are developing a playful yet scientifically validated open access training platform in the form of a serious video game. It's designed for international multidisciplinary student teams whose studies include at least one course related to heritage, regardless of their country of origin. In the game, team members collect key items to identify the specific context and constraints affecting a region. Then they can allocate the most appropriate resources to address these challenges. And let's see about, they can explore diverse contexts, tackle real-life inspired challenges, develop integrated management plans, and build skills useful for both academic and professional careers. And let's a little bit about the game. It works on Windows and Mac OS platforms as well. Game duration, it's about 2 weeks, but it can be, the game duration can be changed by the administrator. And in this game, 4 players form a team tasked with exploring a geographical area that consists of zones and then interzone. Their goal is to complete missions, earning herits. It's an in-game currency and knowledge to tackle 2 heritage challenging. Players use herits to purchase initiatives and knowledge to vote on them. The narrative of the game is the near future an international agency for heritage preservation is deployed to at-risk geographical areas worldwide, such as in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Southern Africa, in Portugal, in Italy, and as well in Hungary, in the territory of Hungary. Teams gather data and work with local communities to prevent further heritage loss, using advanced technology to explore environments and device preservation strategies. The core game mechanics are exploration, scanning, budget management, knowledge acquisition, missions, and initiatives. At the core of the game is teamwork. Players must collaborate to explore, gather data, and vote on initiatives to address heritage challenges. The final part of my presentation is about the summer schools, which are also organized under the umbrella of this Erasmus Plus project. In 2023, we were in Izernia, and in last year we were in Hungary, in Miskolc. A total of 39 students and professors from our partner universities participated, representing 13 different countries. The game testing was conducted earlier in the spring in an online format. Students who applied joined the program together with the developers. The professional program of this summer school focused partly on games and storytelling techniques, and partly on site visits where explored the relationship between natural and cultural archaeological heritage. We visited museums, we visited different archaeological sites around the region. So it was the first year in Izernia, and these are again Hungarian sites, famous Paleolithic sites, the Seletak cave, and also medieval castles as well. And we visited labs and we visited natural science places, lakes, and etc., and museum. And also we visited the Hortobágy, which was the main area of the game, so the students can feel the real feeling of this extremely interesting territory of Hungary. And also we organized them different lectures, and the Lord of the game. It's a board game, is a professional role-play simulation game that takes place in the valley of the river, exposed to unexpected droughts and floods. At our request, the developer adapted the game to include issues and challenges related to archaeological heritage protection. And in parallel with these participants of the summer school also took part in storytelling challenge. First, we threw everyone into the deep end by successfully adopting a method used by a Hungarian historian approach. In pairs, participants were asked to tell a story about objects we had collected in connection with the course team. Even in this early stage, we heard many personal stories and emotions quickly came into play. You can see in this picture on the right. After this, participants received lectures on the principles of storytelling by our Indonesian colleague, and we defined a few characters and the settings. Students were asked to collaborate in groups we had assigned, but they were free to choose the format on their final piece. They had the entire week for research and preparation and presented their final work on the last day. The results were truly impressive. We saw puppet theater performances, and even videos. During this in November, we had the possibility to show our results in the USPP conference organized in Indonesia, in Salatiga, and I also had the possibility to have a talk about the Hungarian prehistory teaching in the curriculum. And to sum up, during these courses, we reached many students raising awareness about natural, cultural, and archaeological heritage, ensuring they now approach these topics with a new perspective. The project successfully implemented experimental learning using playfulness and storytelling to foster collaboration and bridge linguistic and cultural differences. I think that the three examples illustrated three different types of collaboration, one between domestic universities, bilateral international one, and the third one, a multi-partner international collaboration. I hope that these examples have reinforced the importance of international partnerships, which not only facilitate the exchange of knowledge and expertise, but also contribute to a deeper understanding of global heritage among the students and, of course, among the professors as well. Furthermore, introducing new teaching methods is crucial in training future archaeologists, as it helps foster greater engagement and ensures the upcoming generation are well prepared to address the challenges of preserving and interpreting our archaeological heritage. Through a project-based approach, we offer experience-based learning tailored to Gen Z's, to Generation Z's interest, to train archaeology students as responsible professionals in heritage protection and management. And I would like to say thank you for my colleagues who help our work in this project. And of course, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Amazing. Thank you very much. That's a very exciting presentation. Thank you. And then now, if you turn to the third group, third topic of today's webinar, which is museum and public archaeology. And so I would like to invite the first speaker of this topic, Dr. Marie-Grace Pamela Failona, to give her presentation. So, Dr. Failona, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. Good day, everyone. So we're all in different time zone. I'm Pamela Failona from the Philippines, and today I want you to take on a journey through the changing landscape of Philippine archaeology. So before I proceed with my presentation, I would like to thank the ELTE or ELTE, how do you, yes, and Bryn, of course, for inviting me to give a talk at this international webinar. So for a long time, archaeology was seen as the study of the dead, static, dusty, and distant. But today I will argue that it is actually a vital practice for the living. So my presentation titled Unearthing Agency, the Evolving Social Impact of Museum and Public Archaeology in the Philippines. So I think in the timetable, there's no public in the title. So anyway, so we will explore how we are moving from colonial narratives to a new era of community stewardship. Okay. So to understand where we are going, we must understand where we've been. For much of the 20th century, Philippine prehistory was viewed through a distinctly colonial lens. We are all familiar with Otley Beyer, he's an American, and his wave migration theory, the one on the left, the maps. So while foundational in its time, this perspective often painted indigenous Filipinos as passive recipients of culture, people who simply arrived in waves, the Aitas, the Negritos, Indonesia, and the Indones, and the Malays. and people who simply arrive in waves, bringing culture with them rather than developing it here. So this framework had a severe social consequence. It alienated communities from their own heritage. History was something written by foreign experts or institutions in Manila, extracted from the ground and taken away, and it was not something the community owned. However, over the last 2 decades of the 21st century, we have witnessed a paradigm shift. We are moving away from salvage archaeology, which was just about rescuing objects for display, toward public archaeology. So this isn't just a change in method, it's a change in philosophy. So museums and archaeological projects are no longer just repositories of data, there are forums for civic engagement. So the core of this shift is inclusion. We are now viewing descendant communities not as subjects of study, but as partners and co-creators of knowledge. So this illustrates the critical evolution of archaeological practice, moving from a reactive salvage model toward a future of community empowerment. We can visualize this journey through 3 distinct stages. So the first one is defined by urgency, often triggered by rushed construction, and the goal is narrow, save data only. So and external experts extract artifacts and information, often leaving the local community behind. The result is the public excluded from their own history, with heritage stored away in distant archives. And the shift begins with early community consultation, the one in the middle. In this stage, archaeologists and community partners work side by side. The goal evolves into mutual knowledge production, where expertise is shared and trust is built. The result is visible and inclusive, co-created reports, interpretive trails, and museum displays that reflect local voices. And lastly, the ultimate goal, the grassroots control. Triggered by community-led initiatives, the focus becomes autonomy and stewardship. The community doesn't just participate, they control the projects and build their own capacity. The result is long-term care, repatriation of ancestors, and local decision-making power over their own cultural destiny. By understanding the shift, we recognize that archaeology is not just about the past, it's about empowering the living. In museums, there is a profound shift in how they function, moving from being closed temples of objects to active participants in social change. We can map this evolution through 3 critical stages. So the first one, extractive, through this traditional model, the museum acts as a take institution. It relies on unilateral collection, often without community consent. Experts interpret artifacts in isolation while the community is excluded. So objects are presented as static specimens separated from their living context, and the audience remains passive observers with limited access to their own stories. And this leads us to the museum as a shared space. So the one in the middle. The dynamic shifts toward co-creation, where authority is shared and diverse perspectives are included through ongoing consultation and partnership. The museum creates exhibitions that reflect living cultures and community stories. And this stage is defined by engagement, moving from passive viewing to interactive experiences and feedback loops. So the goal is the museum as a platform for community action. So in this empower model, the museum focuses on capacity building, enabling communities to lead projects and develop professional skills. It is no longer just about looking back. It is about stewardship, ownership, and social change. The museum becomes an advocate and a driver for local issues, resulting in true partnerships and a lasting, meaningful impact on society. So this table perfectly summarizes the seismic shift in museum philosophy that we just discussed. We are moving from the repository, an extractive model, to the forum, an empowering one. Now we go to the first case study, the Ifugao Archaeological Project in the island of Luzon. It captures the collaborative spirit between archaeologists and the local Ifugao community. The project, which has conducted extensive work at sites like Old Kiangan Village, is a prime example of public archaeology. Instead of a top-down approach, it approaches on community-led research and mutual knowledge production. The key elements are collaborative excavation, archaeologists working side by side with local residents, blending stratigraphic methods with indigenous ecological knowledge. The second, the rice terrace itself, its landscape, the iconic tiered landscape serving as a living laboratory where research has revealed that these structures were a strategic response to Spanish colonial intrusion in the 17th century. And lastly is the heritage stewardship. Teams documenting artifacts and sharing findings, ensuring that history discovered remains accessible and meaningful to the people of Ifugao. Why does this matter? So it reframes the terraces completely. There aren't just remnants of migration. They are an economic and agricultural response to Spanish colonization. And this data validates indigenous oral history and presents the Ifugao not as passive migrants, but as active resistors who adapted their landscape to survive. So this is archaeology restoring agency. Now we go to the second case study, the Cagayan Archaeological Heritage Projects and home to the famous Homo luzonensis. So if we're going to the first box, the deep time archaeology, it is easy to focus solely on the fossils, but this project demonstrates how to humanize that science. And in the middle, by actively engaging descendant communities like the Agta and Ibanag, the project moves beyond biology to include local folklore and cultural values. As a result, or the impact, the local residents have transformed from curious onlookers into the guardians of the sites. They are now the stewards protecting a heritage they recognize as their own. This traces the transformation of the Cagayan Archaeological Heritage Projects from urgent excavation to a model of public archaeology. So the journey began a century ago as salvage archaeology in the Peña Blanca caves and other municipalities of the province that have archaeological remains, driven by an extractive scientific need to simply save data only. So this intense effort shown here led to the world-shaking discovery of Homo luzonensis, visualized by the teeth and small bones, completely rewriting the human origin story. However, a profound paradigm shift occurred, shifting the focus to sustainable stewardship and community control. Oops, sorry. So today, the Cagayan Museum and Historical Research Center, I hope you can see my cursor, is not just a repository. It is a vital forum for social action and shared history. So the project now encompasses vital historical Neolithic sites, including extensive shell middens, and focuses on the collaborative preservation of rock art. So this success is rooted in the deep engagement of provincial offices, the museums, and local communities. By training residents as research partners and site guardians, the project empowers them as the true custodians of their heritage, turning archaeology from an academic salvage operation into a lasting legacy owned by the people of Cagayan Valley. Our third example is the Tabon Cave Complex in Palawan Island, specifically under the HOPSI and PRESI programs. So this highlights the institutional side of social impact, which is the capacity building. It is not enough to just dig. We must manage these assemblages that we uncover during our archaeological investigation. So these programs focus on international cooperation to standardize heritage management. The goal is to equip local museum stakeholders with the technical skills to manage these global sites themselves. And this shifts the power dynamic from reliance on foreign experts to local competency. And it ensures the stewardship of Philippine heritage remains in Filipino hands. So the overview of human origin patrimony in Southeast Asia, or HOPSI, represents a landmark collaborative network dedicated to understanding the very roots of humanity in our region, the Southeast Asia. So it isn't just a local effort, it's a high-level scientific initiative bridging institutions across France, Germany, Indonesia, and the Philippines, led by a partnership between the National Museum of the Philippines and international powerhouses like the Museum National d'Histoire Naturelle in Paris. And this project is the gold standard for multidisciplinary research combining archaeology, paleoanthropology, and genetics. So the project's goal is threefold. One, of course, is research, enhancing global collaborations to study fossil records. Second is preservation. We're building an expert network to protect our physical heritage. And lastly is education. We have to raise awareness about the evolution of early hominids like Homo erectus and Homo floresiensis in Indonesia. The Homo lucenensis hasn't been discovered yet at that time. So for the HOPSI, it's the Tabon Cave Complex. So it's the Philippine contribution and known as the cradle of Philippine civilization. So Tabon is a critical site for understanding the migration and lifestyle of early modern humans, the Homo sapiens sapiens. So by analyzing the geological formations and remains found here, HOPSI helped us visualize how our ancestors lived 47,000 years ago. So through HOPSI, we are not just looking at old bones, we are building a network of experts to ensure that the story of our origin is preserved for the next generation of Filipinos and the world. And the Managing Prehistoric Heritage in Southeast Asia was a vital initiative that ran from 2012 to 2016. It was funded by the European Commission. It represents a transformative era in how we manage the physical and movable history of our region. The HOPSI is also funded by the European Commission. So this was built on a strong partnership between the Philippines, Indonesia, and France by bringing together the National Museum of the Philippines, the Sangiran Museum, and the Museum National d'Histoire Naturelle in Paris. So the project facilitated high-level exchanges of expertise among scientists, specialists, as well as students. So the focus again is the Tabon Cave Complex, and under the Presi, the focus shifted toward the scientific management of the site. This wasn't just about digging, it was about the long-term preservation of the cave's physical structure and the professional management of the movable heritage, the precious artifacts found within the cave complex. And the project didn't just stay in the field, it culminated in a landmark exhibition. There's even a catalog. The same thing with HOPSI, and it was presented and inaugurated in Palawan, so in the capital of Palawan, bringing these world-class finds to the Filipino public. However, the broader context section of the slide reminds us of the ongoing challenges. Many of our sites remain at risk due to a lack of trained specialists and the lingering effects of colonial-era archaeology. So PRESI was a direct answer to these challenges using integrated scientific methods to ensure that sites like Tabon are not just salvaged but sustainably managed by a new generation of heritage leaders. So in summary, Prezi provided the foundational infrastructure and training needed to physically protect the Tabon Cave Complex and its artifacts, while HOPSI provides the high-level scientific framework to keep Tabon at the center of global conversation regarding how early modern humans populated Southeast Asia. Now, where does the public meet this science? Of course, it's in the museums. So it acts as the bridge between the trench and the community. As we've seen through our 3 regional case studies, a museum is no longer just a building with display cases. It is the essential bridge between dense academic data and the public's understanding of who they are. So the role of museum is always to know the identity and bridge to the public. In the Cagayan Archaeological Heritage Project, we see that museum acting as a site of identity construction. So by moving away from the salvage archaeology, the Cagayan Museum has become a forum where the discovery of Homo luzinensis isn't just a scientific fact, but a source of provincial pride. It translates complex paleoanthropology into a narrative that a local community can claim as their own. But this openness brings a dual-edged sword. Of course, the archaeotourism and the Ifugao Archaeological Project perfectly illustrates this dual-edged sword. By bringing the world's attention to this new date of 17th century origins of our rice terraces, the project creates economic revitalization. It empowers the Ifugao people to lead their own heritage tours and manage their landscape. However, as noted on the slide, we must guard against the commodification of sacred heritage. Archaeology must ensure that terraces remain a living, breathing agricultural system, not just a static specimen for tourists. And this brings us to sustainable stewardship. So the HOPSI and PRESI initiatives show how international collaboration supports this interface. By establishing networks for the Tawan Cave Complex, these projects ensure that academic data is managed scientifically while being prepared for public consumption. The final exhibitions in Palamon transformed Tabon from a remote cave into a shared national legacy. From these cases, the museum is where archaeology meets the soul of the community. Whether to the caves of Peña Blanca in Cagayan, the terraces of Ifugao, or the fossils of Palawan, the goal remains the same: to use our past to build a more empowered, informed, and culturally rooted future. This addresses the moral core of modern archaeology, the shift toward ethical frameworks and decolonization. So, our strategy must be clear. We must prioritize sanctity over profit. In sites like Peña Blanca Caves or the Ifugao Rice Terraces, heritage is not a commodity for tourism, it is a sacred ancestral link. By implementing rigorous ethical guidelines, we ensure that research and visitors respect the spiritual and social values of the local people. The result is directly challenged to the authorized heritage discourse, the outdated idea that only Western or academic experts have the right to define history. By following the knowledge cycle, the one at the right, we integrate community feedback directly into research and museum displays. So this validates the lived realities of Filipinos, ensuring that our past is no longer a story told about us, but a legacy reclaimed and told by us. As we close this presentation, let the image before you serve as our North Star. So archaeology in the Philippines is no longer just the silent study of the dead, conducted in isolation. It has evolved into a vital social practice that breathes life into our contemporary identity. So, by transitioning from extractive salvage missions to democratized archaeology, we do more than just find artifacts. We strengthen community resilience. When a young student or a local elder holds a piece of their past with gloved hands and an informed heart, they are already participating in a profound act of reclamation. This is our call to action to continue fostering partnerships that empower the living to define their own history. Then we can build a national identity that is not imported but unearthed. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It's very inspiring. Thank you so much.
You're
Uh, Great presentation. Thank you. And then, so now, before we turn to the final presentation, I would just draw your attention again that there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You can write your questions right away. We'll also keep it to the discussion, which will follow this final presentation. And so without further ado, our next presentation is from Dr. Szabolcs Felföldi. And so I would like to ask Dr. Felföldi to give this presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's great.
Okay, I'm trying to... Sorry, a moment, please.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, let's see. Can you see?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about the first decade of an archaeological magazine. The only printed educational magazine with an archaeological theme in the history of Hungarian newspaper publishing, this means Archaeology Without Boundaries, or Boundless Archaeology in English, recently celebrated its 10th birthday. This is a journal whose stated aim, even at the time of its launch, was to raise awareness of the field of archaeology in Hungary. The aim was to shed light not only on the world of international archaeological research, but also on the work of Hungarian archaeologists for a wider Hungarian audience. In this way, we have sought to increase the social acceptance and esteem of archaeology in Hungary. We intended for it to play an important cultural and social role, and we can only hope that it has successfully fulfilled that role over the past decade. However, enough time has now passed since the magazine's founding that its editor-in-chief can look back on its history with some perspective and briefly summarize the experiences of this past decade. The origins of the boundless archaeology can be traced back to around 2014. It was then that Otto Fogas, director of the Museum of Szeged, began to consider that it would be worthwhile to launch a Hungarian language popular science magazine. Szeged is the third biggest city of Hungary in the south part of the country, with an old and huge museum with a significant archaeological collection. The goal was to launch an accessible, colorful, and engaging magazine. 10 years ago, there were several magazines on the market that focused on history, such as Rubicon, Múltkor, in English Old Time, and BBC History. None of them were specifically dedicated to archaeology, although they frequently published articles on archaeological topics. However, such articles have occasionally been published in broader scope, more prestigious popular science magazines as well, such as the Hungarian edition of the National Geographic or the Interpress magazine. The person behind the idea had indeed correctly identified an exciting market niche. The original plan was to publish a quarterly magazine printed on high-quality paper and featuring full-color content throughout. The title of the magazine would have been The Golden Coffin, after the title of one of the novels of Ferenc Móra. Ferenc Móra was a famous Hungarian writer and archaeologist in the first half of the 20th century. In addition to these archaeological excavations, he also wrote good novels. For many years, he served as a director of the museum in Szeged, which was later named after him. The magazine's original title would have been a tribute to him as well. But after some discussion, we finally changed the magazine's name from Golden Coffin to Boundless Archaeology, thereby making it a little clearer to our future customers what they are able to buy from the newsstands. However, during the preparations, it became clear that due to other commitments at the museum, the editor-in-chief we had selected, Gábor Bácsmegi, one of my friends, would ultimately be unable to take on the role. So I was eventually asked to accept the position of editor-in-chief and head of the editorial department. With the addition of more editors, photo editors, and language editor, and layout designers, the team was gradually coming together. Preparations for the publication of the magazine were moving rather slowly, but we finally set the summer of 2016 as the launch date. It was around this time that we decided the word boundless in the title would have multiplied meanings. First of all, the magazine aims to present more than just the results of domestic Hungarian archaeological research. Thus, we do not limit our topics geographically to the Carpathian Basin. So we welcome and publish articles on African, Asian, American, or even Australian themes. 2. Under Hungarian law, an object, building, phenomenon, and so on, is considered to be of archaeological significance if it was buried before 1711. However, did not want to tie our hands so tightly in a chronological sense, since in many parts of the world, a whole host of archaeologists use archaeological methods to examine numerous sites or objects that originated well after 1711. So we envisioned the magazine as having no boundaries, not only geographically, but chronologically as well. 3. We knew that modern 21st century archaeology is in an extremely close, almost symbiotic relationship, not only with the whole range of humanities, for example, philology, history, cultural history, and so on, but also with a host of natural sciences, geology, chemistry, physics, and so on. It was therefore clear that we did not want to exclude scholars from archaeology-related disciplines from the ranks of future contributors. For this reason, we wanted to publish not only articles on archaeology, but also history and the natural sciences as well. 4. Finally, we envisioned the magazine as boundless in the same sense that we didn't want to exclude anyone from our readership. We wanted to offer meaningful and useful reading material for everyone, from 8 to 9 years old to the seniors. That is why one of our most important priorities was to present the latest research findings in Hungarian and in international archaeology in a form that is free of technical jargon and understandable to everyone. Without extensive scholarly apparatus, such as footnotes, references, or huge bibliographies, but with many vivid, colorful photos, drawings, reconstructions, maps, and explanatory text. In short, everything that makes the world of archaeology understandable and enjoyable. This is also why, from the very beginning, we envisioned Boundless Archaeology as a family magazine, where every member of the family could find an article to their linking. So, elementary school students can read comics or play archaeology games. College students can read the fresh excavations reports. And retired readers can find museum exhibition guides or even recipes for historical dishes. That is why we decided to create a series of unique sections and then organize the articles in each issue into the magazine according to those sections. Thus, the cover story section features articles that are directly related to the main theme of the issue, the headline of on the cover. Meanwhile, our context section features articles that in some ways supplement or provide context for the cover story articles, but it also includes publications that approach the same topic from the perspective of a different academic discipline, for example, historical articles or something like that. The entire section titled The Warrior and His Weapons is dedicated to publications on the history of weapons and warfare. We usually include the most colorful and diverse articles in our Archaeo-Adventure section. However, in many cases, they no longer relate to the magazine's main theme. The section Hello Sciences, on the other hand, a collection of articles whose topics are perhaps the most difficult for an average reader. Of course, an important mission of the magazine is to ensure that the articles published here are accessible, but in terms of tone and methodology. These articles are perhaps the closest to those published in specialized archaeological journals. Another goal of this section is to introduce readers to the latest professional findings in various fields of science. The section, Indiana Jones and His Friends, has essentially become a hub for short features. This is where you can find games and puzzles for kids, comic strips, and a historical recipe. In addition to defining our readership, we felt it was also very important to identify the pool of potential contributors to the journal. As editor-in-chief, I considered it essential that readers receive information from credible sources. Therefore, we have always strived and continues to strive to engage the leading domestic experts on each topic. Thus, we were no doubt that we would gladly welcome contributions from academics, university professors, distinguished museum archaeologists, and representatives of related disciplines. At the same time, I felt it was important to provide publication opportunities for the younger generation of archaeologists and researchers, which is why we wanted to make room for recent archaeology graduates or doctoral students as well. The past decade or so has proven that we made the right decision in this regard. I feel that Hungarian archaeologists have come to love the magazine. Most of my colleagues regularly submit articles. It is also gratifying that over the past 10 years, numerous foreign authors have honored the magazine with their contributions, so that even if only to a small extent for now, boundless archaeology has made its way onto the international academic stage. We thank each and every one of our authors for their collaboration. When the journal was launched, it was decided that Boundless Archaeology was published quarterly, and that it would have a total of 100 pages. Later, due to increase of the price of the paper, we had to reduce this to 80 pages. Since the magazine is published not by a professional publishing company, but by a public institution, namely the Móra Ferenc Múzeum, 4 issues a year seemed feasible at first, given the museum's team of experts and its limited financial resources. It is also important to emphasize that none of the members of the team works on the magazine full-time, including the editor-in-chief himself. Essentially, every contributor is involved in editing, layout, and marketing the magazine as a secondary. I believe this makes my colleagues' work all the more commendable. That is why it was so important for us to prioritize thematic diversity above all else. That is why right from the start we decided that there would be issues focusing on the archaeological heritage of a particular people or a specific historical period, or on the results of archaeological research. But we also planned issues that would examine a single fascinating question across space and time. This is how issues later emerged on the conquering Hungarians or the archaeology of the Mongol invasion period. But Boundless Archaeology also published on the use of masks or tattoos across continents and eras. This thematic variety may also help ensure that our readers don't grow tired of the magazine. We strive to maintain this variety in the magazine's layout and visual design, both now and in the future. We hope that our readers will continue to stand by us in the future, and then perhaps we can celebrate our 20th anniversary together in 2036. Finally, here are some impressive statistics from the magazine's first decade. Including our current 10th anniversary issue, we have published a total of 37 issues to date, one of which was a double issue, featuring 1,785 articles by 1,448 different authors, spanning a total of 3,524 pages. Since 2016, we published more than 500 new posts and shares on our outline platforms, which tens of thousands of people have liked, commented on, or shared. We are very proud of it. This is the result of our views, and that is my end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. That was also very exciting and enlightening for the past 10 years. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
And of course, we wish you even more success for the future. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And now we are perfectly on time. Huge thank you for all the speakers. It is amazing that we could keep the time as we planned. And so now we have 30 minutes for the questions. So I don't see any questions in the Q&A section now. But so if anyone has a question to any of the speakers, please feel free to write it here to the Q&A section, or yes, or just, yeah. I think the best would be if you would write your question here, and then I can either read it, or we can give you the chance to say it yourself. So yeah, whoever has a question, please feel free to write it in the chat. Yeah, so until we wait for questions, I would just like to highlight that there was a question in the Q&A about the technical details of the YouTube summary of the, or so like the not the summary, but like the actual presentations on the YouTube. And so I would like to say that yes, so both days, both yesterday and today, will be available on YouTube. It will take a few days until they become available publicly, but they will be there. So please look for them in a few days, and then feel free to watch them again, and then quote and share it with everyone interested. Great. Okay. Until we wait for questions, yeah, feel free to write any moment. I would have actually, I would have many questions to basically all of the speakers, but maybe I would just save one first until we get other questions. So I would have a question to Dr. Filona, and so I was wondering, it is really exciting to see this shift from a passive museum, a passive repository of objects, to like community engagement and even identity formation. So my question would be like, so how responsive is the community? So are they actually engaged, or like, so are they happy to engage the museums? Or like, so the third version, which you said, like it really like shows like community agency, and somehow like presenting the findings, or like so driving the way the museum is organized. So I was wondering, could you please share more details about how this works, and how the community is open to this engagement?
Yes, for all those three case studies that I've shared with you, they are some local communities. The one that we excavated are very much engaged, because we really need permit. So we need consent from them if we can conduct an archaeological excavation. And we ask permission to not just to the community, as well as to the local government. So with different agencies that I mentioned, the National Museum, the government, local government, at the same time, the community itself. We try to give a dialogue. We present a dialogue, and then it said that what they have is very important, and it can really brings identity more. Established or define their identity in what we are doing in the community. Mhm. So
That's
more on
amazing. Thank you.
dialogue. Of course, it's not. It's easy to say those things, but it and especially if you're dealing with indigenous community, so there's several permits that you need to to get, not just the local community as well as another agency that handles or organize these indigenous groups in the Philippines. Okay.
Great. That's very exciting. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Perfect. And you already have 4 questions in total. That's amazing. Yeah, thank you very much. So I would then read the questions. So the questions come from Muhammad Bashir, and he has questions to 4 speakers. This is amazing. So then maybe yes. So I'm sorry. I'm just picking the questions. Yes. Okay. So the first question is to Dr. Failona again. So the question goes as follows. So in the concept of unearthing agency that you propose, is there any indigenous community that formally acts as a decision maker rather than merely a consultant in managing sites located on their own land?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will read it again. I believe it's quite similar, or it might be similar to what I have just asked, but it's slightly
Yes,
different.
actually.
So in the concept of unearthing agency that you propose, is there any indigenous community that formally acts as a decision maker rather than merely a consultant in managing sites located on their own land?
The IP themselves as the agency?
Yes, so an indigenous community that has a
Yes, 'cause
decision-making power.
yes, they are, because it's a dialogue, and we coordinate with them. It should be we should work side by side with them, not just the experts, but at the same time with the locals, because it's their history and they know better. So we just do the scientific part, and they're one who's interpreting what we have unearthed. So they're more familiar with what we are unearthing, right? So yes, they're always part of the decision making and how to present their heritage to the public and to their own community. So there are several studies already, and even at the end of the excavation, established museums, especially in the Ifugao Archaeology Project. And the one that I mentioned is the Cagayan Museum also. And then the Tabon Cave Complex also has a museum, and also at the site itself, the National Museum just opened the National Museum in Palawan in the Tabon Cave Complex. So, and it involves the local people, the schools at the same time, and the IP. So it is well represented. So, and all the stakeholders contributed in knowing their past, or it sounds cliche, but that's the goal. It's like to share this their past, their legacy, and act as the steward of this legacy that they had. Mhm.
Amazing, thank you. Very, very cool. Great. So the second question of Muhammad was to Saboj Felföldi. So sadly, as you can see it from the chat, Professor Felföldi had to leave, but he wrote his email address. So if you're happy to send this question to him by email, then I am sure that he will respond very gladly as soon as possible. And then so the third question is to all speakers. So I think I will read it, and then anyone who who is happy to answer, maybe you can just unmute yourself and go ahead and answer. So the question would be to all speakers. International conservation standards were born from a European context of silent ruins. What concrete epistemological adaptations are made when these standards are applied to Southeast Asian sites that are still treated as living entities by their communities? So I'll read it again. International conservation standards were born from a European context of silent ruins. What concrete epistemological adaptations are made when these standards are applied to Southeast Asian sites that are still treated as living entities by their communities? So is any one of the speakers is happy to answer this question, then please go ahead. I know this is the most difficult when nobody is called out by name, but anyone has an insight, then please feel free to respond. Okay, maybe then from a Southeast Asian, from an Indonesian perspective, Dr. Chakyandaru, or maybe Chakyandaru, maybe
Yeah,
would you be happy to
I'm
answer
sorry.
this?
Yes, please. I'm sorry, I have a bad connection of my internet, so hopefully in this, now it's
No, for
become
sure, it's
better.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
okay.
great.
Let me talk about conservation. Yes, there's a perspective from European with many charter. We can learn from the many charters about conservation materials and wood charter and landscape charter and so on. But yes, we are in Southeast Asia has our own knowledge of conservation, as I explained in my presentation. There are many traditional practices that actually can adapt to the conservation method. But again, scientific approach could also together with this technology, traditional technology. So, in my opinion, we should combine the source from the traditional knowledge with the scientific, let's say, modern technology, so we can explore and then scientifically prove, and then in the future we can also develop even more advanced than the European modern technique. And we have experience in Indonesia about it. We use a traditional material. After we combine with a laboratory technique, then we can obtain a better, and at least in Southeast Asia, more suitable with the material itself. I think that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. That is great. And then it is probably also always the best to be able to adapt. And this is a great method. Thank you so much. Perfect. And then there's one more question from Muhammad. Again, I think to everyone. So does Southeast Asia-Europe archaeological cooperation have any structural mechanism that ensures indigenous communities have a seat at the decision? So it's slightly similar. Any structural mechanisms? Yes, anyone from the speakers again? Maybe Harry, do you have an insight to this? You were speaker yesterday, the organizer. Maybe you know if there is any mechanism. Can you elaborate on it? Do you have any idea?
Yes. I think so. I'm not the
Thank you
speaker
so
of
much.
today, but it's okay. I will try to answer it. Yes, it's the Swedish ASEAN and the European Archaeological Cooperation is already have the what is the structural collaborations. We have the like an together with collaboration with the Europe who doing the research in Indonesia sometimes, and we have a lot of the how to say the reveal many new knowledge about what happened in the past. So like yesterday, we still thinking before we thinking there is what is influenced by the mainland to the islands in the Southeast Asia, but in fact, it's not really what's happened. In fact, there is a local knowledge and local of the movement or local production of the the knowledge of the past. Like I know we said before, we still thinking about the European before there is the oldest cave painting, but now in the Southeast Asia is we have the same. So it's there is a new perspective about what happened in the past of these 10 years with the collaboration between the archaeological between the Europe and the Asia to reveal more and we more understand about the past. Is that thing? Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
May I add some, Peter?
Sure, thank you.
For me,
Yes,
it's not a question, but it's a suggestion. So I'm very happy if in the future, Southeast Asia and Europe has a collaboration like what Mr. Mohan Basir said in here. For me, it's like a suggestion or like something that we can set in the future. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, and then maybe now that we have such conferences, we can also go on this track in the future.
Yes, of course.
Harry, you unmuted yourself. Yeah, sorry if you want to say something.
It's okay. It's nothing because we actually have the conference. If you remember about the Eurasia, the Europeans doing research in the Southeast Asia. Sometimes they I think it's every 4 years or every 4 years. I think it's there is a meeting between the researcher who doing the research in the Southeast Asia. It's not only for the Europe, but also the Southeast Asian college doing the research in the Southeast Asia to more know and more understand about what happened in the past is actually. So we will more understand about the past and how to shape after the future or after we see the past. This one, and it's like that.
Indeed, yeah, that's great. Thank you. Perfect. So we have one more question in the Q&A. It's from Yosafat Enduro, and so it's again to Dr. Failona. And so the question is, I can read it loud. So I like your bottom line about the old paradigm. The dominance of the wave migration theory makes indigenous groups viewed as passive recipients of culture. What steps need to be taken, and what are the challenges in building the new paradigm? Okay.
Yes, as I mentioned in my presentation a while ago, so the Philippines, luckily, we are practicing the new paradigm. So from in archaeology, salvage archaeology, to public archaeology, and we are doing that. So we are collaborating with Indonesia, Europe. So luckily, there's a lot of projects that will preserve our heritage and acknowledge our indigenous community, not just the local Asian, our local Filipino, and how we incorporated this knowledge, like the co-creation of knowledge. And as I mentioned, this is always should be inclusive. So no group left behind, and treat them as partners. So not treat them as subjects, particularly with our locals, the indigenous groups. And this group, this indigenous group, should always be recognized as agency, as one of the stakeholders. So if you're not going to recognize them as part of the team, as of the group, it will never work. It will not give them empowerment. It's not an empowered action, and it's not inclusive, and it will not promote stewardship and also authority or ownership of this heritage that we would like to extract and then to be consumed by the public. There you go.
Great. Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, and there was one comment in the chat, which is also, I think, important to put out there. So I was reading it out loud. So it's from Alexandra Anders to Nahran, sorry, Nahra Chayandaru. And so it states, it is not a question, just only a congratulation to Dr. Nahar's project using traditional knowledge for a sustainable preservation and conservation. So great indeed. It's great, great appreciation and feedback. Okay, great. So we actually have like 9 more minutes from the Q&A. So does anybody have more questions? Feel free to write it in the chat.
So I think I have a question about what is watching about Pak Nahar about conservation, because as an archaeologist we doing the research, but we should aware also for the conservation of what next after doing the research and doing the excavation. What should we do with the artifact and others? So after is change it from the how to say it, from the soil to the what is the open air, like that should be changed everything. So when I see about the Panahar using the with the natural conservation, such as the essential oil and others too. So I have the question about how we what is the how we manage like an old because in the Southeast Asia is very humid, so it's a bit quite different with the Europe. It's quite well preserved. But in the Southeast Asia, we have the problem with the very humid weather. So it's such as not very for the natural resources as the like on pepper and everything. It should be very easy to destroy and everything. So even for the like an metals objects which I study about. So how we manage this this kind of the artifact? How we try to make it more longer the life of this artifact, so it's not be disappear and everything. So how actually we learning from the past, such as well, I kind of Panahara show about Chris Dagger, like that they using like an like a coconut water and everything. So there is the others kind of the using material to make it a conservation of this like a metals object and everything.
Yeah, Can I answer directly?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
It's a long question, and it's a very wide area of conservation. So maybe I want to just make a short answer in general. Yeah. So for archaeologists, if we make a research by excavation and we found something, so the important thing from the conservation point of view is the conservation planning. So we have to have a plan before we take this object from the original environment to new environment, because if we change the environment, the microclimate of the object, basically we bring this object to the new deterioration process. That's a problem that we have to really pay attention on. So before we leave the object, we have to make a planning, like how to leave, with the technique of lifting the object, and then how we transport it, and then when the object will be located, and the technique of the conservation, the direct uh, technique that we the should immediately done. So the problem sometimes archaeologists doesn't have a plan. They find an interesting thing, and then yeah, they're very very curious, and then the desire of the scientific desire, maybe they want to take the object, bring to the lab, but they forgot that uh, there will be change on the microclimates and will lead to deterioration. So the first thing is the planning, and then we have to understand the type of the materials. So that's why the laboratory analysis is always important. I'm happy in this first session of the seminar, Mualimul Ilmi already introduced the importance of the laboratory analysis, so we can understand the characteristic of the material and the process that will be happen if we change the microclimates. So after we understand, then we can decide what kind of uh, uh, intervention that we can. I think this is the general answer for Hari Sufyan. Maybe you didn't satisfied with my answer, but next time we can discuss more. Thank you.
Yes, of course, in our side. Thank you.
No, it sounded great. Thank you very much. All right. So somebody else with a question? Okay, if not, then I think we can turn to the final part of the conference. And this will be the closing remarks from the two main organizers of the conference. And so first, the first one will be the closing remarks of Dr. Sofwan Norvidi. And I believe Harif will convey the remarks, right? So I believe, yes, Professor Norvidi had to leave a bit earlier, but Haris Sofian will present his closing remarks.
Okay, thank you, Boros. Okay, I will represent Pak Sofwan Nurwidi because he should accompany our vice director of the BRINS, who he's in the field right now, so he represent the closing remarks to me. So I will reading his closing remarks. So, distinguished speakers, respected colleagues, and dear participants of the conference, as we come to the end of this 2 days international webinar, Connecting Continents and Ocean, Southeast Asia Archaeology and the Heritage in the Dialogue with the Europe, I would like to be, on behalf of the Research Center of the Archaeometry and the Research Organization of the Archaeology, Language, and the Literature at the National Research and Innovation Agency, to express our sincere appreciation to all of you. Over the past 2 days, we have been presented with a rich and inspiring array of the studies, from human migration and ancient trading network to the methodological innovation, heritage management, and community engagement. This discussion have clearly demonstrated that Southeast Asia is not only a crossroad of the past civilization, but is also a dynamic frontier for the future research, especially when placed in the dialogue with the European experience and perspective. During day one, Interwin Crossroad, recent research and finding in the Southeast Asian archaeology, we explore the region as a vibrant hub of the human interaction, mobility, and cultural exchange. The presentation highlights new discovery and interdisciplinary approach that deepen our understanding on the migration, maritime network, and the ancient connectivity across the Southeast Asia. This insight reaffirm the region's central role in the broader narrative of the human history. On the day two, bridging the continent, archaeological practice in the Southeast Asia and Europe, our focus shifts toward the comparative dimension of the archaeological practice. We examined methodology, heritage management strategy, and also community engagement model, learning from the both regional experience and European perspective. This dialogue has underclosed that importance of the mutual learning and the value of the integrating diverse approach in the addressing shared challenge in the archaeology and the heritage conservation. We have also seen how the integration of the scientific approach, particularly in the archaeometry, continue to transform our disciplines. Advance in the material analysis, digital technology, and interdisciplinary framework are the opening the new path to the understand to the past with the greater precision and the deep. At the same time, the importance of the social dimension of the heritage protection, public archaeology, and inclusive narrative remains central to our shared mission. This webinar has reaffirmed that collaboration is no longer optional, but essential. The challenge we face, whether in the research, conservation, or interpretation, require collective effort that transcend institutional and the national boundaries. The partnership between National Research and Innovation Agency and Eötvös Loránd University, I'm sorry if you're wrong, is a strong example how such a cooperation can be realized and sustained. Moving forward, we hope that idea and connection generated here will not end with this event. Instead, we will continue to grow into joint research project, share publication, research exchange, and also long-term institutional partnership. At BRIN, we remain committed to supporting this initiative through our research platform, laboratories, and international mobility programs. Finally, I would like to thank to all the speakers, moderator, organizer, and all the participants for your valuable contribution and active engagement. Your presence and insight have made this webinar truly meaningful. We're looking forward to meeting you again in the future collaboration. Thank you so much and warm regard, Dr. Sofwan Nurwidi. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And thank you for conveying the message. And so finally, I would like to ask the other lead organizer, Dr. Kristina Hoppal, to give her concluding remarks.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, dear participants, as we reach the conclusion of this international webinar, I would like to take a few moments to reflect on what we have shared, discussed, and learned over the past 2 days. This event has been organized with the aim of fostering meaningful academic exchange, sharing methodological insights, and strengthening interdisciplinary cooperation in archaeology, heritage studies, and museology between scholars working in Southeast Asia and Europe. Our goal has been to create a platform where recent archaeological research from Southeast Asia can be presented to an international audience, and also promoting comparative discussion on archaeological practice, heritage legislation, and community engagement in both regions. Over the course of the webinar, we have been privileged to hear from a diverse group of scholars from Southeast Asia, Europe, and beyond. These contributions have emphasized the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration in uncovering the complexities of the past, and the value of comparative approaches in understanding both regional and global processes. During the first day, we explored the historical and cultural complexity of Southeast Asia as a dynamic hub of interactions. And during the second day, we focused on professional, legal, and social aspects of archaeology. I believe that these 2 days clearly illustrated that we have cooperation and we should continue collaborating, and we have indeed a lot of things to learn from each other. So at this point, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to our Indonesian colleagues at BRIN. Their tireless efforts, often beyond regular working hours, were crucial in organizing this webinar, preparing the handbook, and assembling the website. I want to especially acknowledge our lead organizer, Pasoffan, for his vision and dedication, as well as Hari, who served as co-presenter and energetic co-organizer, and also to Rusyanti, Masputra, Nada, and many others who contributed their time and expertise. So, terima kasih semua atas kerja keras dan dedikasi. We also extend our thanks to the prominent scholars who officially opened the conference, Professor Jagaswara and Professor Imre Hamar from Eötvös-Loránd University. And taken together, these presentations and discussions illustrate several key points. First, interdisciplinary collaboration is essential for addressing the complex questions of human past. Second, context is critical. Artifacts, whether coins, beads, or ceramics, must be interpreted carefully with attention to provenance and chronology. Third, public engagement and capacity building are central to the sustainability of archaeological research and heritage management. Finally, Southeast Asia's archaeological record continues to reveal both the depth of local developments and the region's integration into broader global networks. So as we close, I want to thank all of our speakers for their outstanding contributions and all participants for their engagement and insightful questions, and also for the moderators, Anton and Patty. The success of this webinar demonstrates that international interdisciplinary dialogue is not only possible, but essential for advancing our understanding of Southeast Asia's past and for strengthening scholarly networks across continents. I hope that the connections, discussions, and collaborative spirit fostered over the past 2 days will lead to new partnerships, joint projects, and ongoing comparative research. May this webinar continue to serve as a stepping stone for shared learning and mutual growth in archaeology, heritage studies, and museology. Thank you all for your participation, your dedication, and your commitment to advancing global archaeological scholarship.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think both speeches were great summary of our last 2 days, and also greatly highlighting the inspiring nature of all the discussions which happened here. So then, yeah, also from my part, thank you very much for all the presenters and all the participants. And yes, as we said earlier, all the talks will be on YouTube in a few days. So feel free to come back, watch them again, and then share it with your networks. Share them with your networks. And as for the speakers, we also plan a conference volume to be assembled later. So please stay tuned for such developments. And thank you very much for all of you, attendance again, and hope to meet again. And all the very best. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you,
And
President.
our
you,
speaker and
everyone.
all the
Thank you.
participants.
Bye.
Thank you, Boris.
Thank you.
So I think so. Noise is shouldn't must. Thank you, Alexandra. Mana nih? Ini.
So thank you very much again. And I think we can close this webinar if you agree.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you. I
we can
will
close it.
close the webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Boris. And thank you, Mas Putra.
Terima
manage
kasih
everything.
semua.
See you
Yes,
in
thank you so much.
another
See
event.
you. Bye-bye. Oh, Mbak Nada juga. Thank you.
Makasih, makasih.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.